So you finish up your college career at A&M and you get drafted into the pros. I think, were you drafted by the Houston Oilers at first?
Yeah.
And let's just say, don't take this the wrong way, Bucky. Let's just say you were not the prototypical NFL quarterback, right?
No, of course I wasn't. No.
And so you go and play in the pros, and the play that there's two plays that I remember the most. The one play I probably remember the most is when you threw a touchdown pass left-handed and you're right-handed. And I think it was to win the game. And the reason, Bucky, that I love that play so much is because that just epitomized to me the way you played. You would have thrown the ball. You would have bounced the ball off your forehead if you needed to score a touchdown. You just did whatever it took. And then the other play I remember is when I think it was against the Cowboys, and somebody was offsides or something. They blew the whistle, but the Cowboys defensive end decided he didn't hear it. And he comes in and he just blasted you. And they didn't call for a penalty.
his name was Charles Haley.
Wow. I didn't know that was Charles Haley.
Yeah. And he was the only one in the stadium that didn't hear that whistle. And that was the first game I ever started in the NFL. And we lost a close game to Dallas we played up in Cowboy Stadium. But yeah, he was one of those, they jump, you jump, we jump, they jump. It's confusing, and half the guys are going and half the guys aren't going. And of course, they blew the whistle. So I immediately just relaxed, which you should never do, by the way. So I just relaxed, and Haley just he's coming right at me. And I don't think I seen him coming, because I would have gotten out of his way or tried to.
Yeah.
But he put his headgear on my chest plate and just took me to the ground. And I remember shaking that thing off and looking at that official going, now, if I was Troy Aikman, would you throw the flag? Please.
Yeah, if you breathe on Tom Brady now, you get called for 15 yards.
Yeah.
A little different back then. You can look at the NBA back then too. I was watching the NBA, man. Golly, the physicality of it. Every one of those players be getting kicked out of the game nowadays for what they were doing back then.
And I think a lot of those changes are for the better, right? The more educated we get on things, we've got to make it safe as we can, safe as you possibly can, and technology with the helmets and protocols and all those things that we didn't have back when I played. And back then, you would just come off the field and go, you got dinged, shake it off, you're going back in the next play.
Exactly.
It wasn't an option. You shook it off and you went back in. And so all those kind of things are for the better. But yeah, Charles Haley was a hit. And I think what you're talking about was a preseason game, oddly enough, against the Cowboys. And we drove down the field in 45 or 50 seconds and was able to throw a touchdown there at the end to win a preseason game. But that was a big deal.
Left-handed.
That's a big deal as a rookie. You don't know how many opportunities you're going to get.
Yeah.
So when you get one, to go in and take advantage of it and do a 2-minute offense type of drive to win a game I think it helped me make the team for
sure. And you were actually asked, I think at one point, Bucky, you were asked by maybe one or maybe more teams if you would be interested in playing fullback or safety, I think. And you never ended up doing that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was in Houston, my 4th training camp, and got cut. That's when they hired Jeff Fisher, drafted Steve McNair from Alcorn State. And I ended up getting cut that training camp. New England picked me up off waivers. That's back when Bill Parcells was their head coach and Drew Bledsoe was their quarterback. And I went up there, and it was the next day. I remember I was just heartbroken that I'd gotten cut. And what's this mean, and what's going to happen, and am I ever going to get to play again? And that afternoon, my agent calls me and says, New England just picked you up off waivers. I just bought you a flight. You're going to Boston tomorrow. And so it's like, whoa, what? What are you talking about? Yeah. So I did that. I was crying my eyes out on the way home from San Antonio, but I get on the plane the next day and go to Boston, and their training camp is about an hour and a half drive, small school outside of Boston. And the guy that picked me up said, Coach Parcells wants to talk to you before you do anything. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I get there, and Coach Parcells basically told me, he goes, I'm not sure what position I'm going to like you at better, but I want to play you, of course, on all special teams. I want to play you at fullback, H-back, tight end. And he said, I know you've been playing quarterback a long time, and I just think you're a good enough athlete that you could maybe fill that void for us. And he goes, if you don't want to do that and you don't agree, I'll release you right now and get you back to the airport, and you can see if another team wants to pick you up to play quarterback. And of course, I'm not going to tell Coach no. I mean, that was just my attitude. I go, Coach, I'll do whatever you want. I'm here. I appreciate y'all picking me up. I'd love to be a New England Patriot. And that was my attitude. And of course, I ended up getting cut later in training camp. And then Dallas actually picked me up. That was all in 90. I guess that was 95 training camp.
Yeah.
So.
And you were backing up Moose, Daryl Johnson, I think.
And they, what was weird about Dallas is there was like a week left in training camp. And I go, why would Dallas even bother signing me if they didn't think I would have a spot, or they had to feel good about me being on the team at some capacity, and ended up getting cut. It was me and another guy. It was down to the last spot, and there were two of us.
Yeah.
So I got cut. So I didn't play in 95, and you're always sitting by the phone, injuries, and I was staying in shape and doing my thing. And Kansas City Chiefs ended up calling me and signing me and wanting me to play quarterback, which I wanted to do. Steve Bono was their starting quarterback at the time, and Rich Gannon was the backup.
Wow.
Rich Gannon was he was holding out. His contract was up. He was holding out, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to re-sign him or not, and they signed me. So I actually moved to Kansas City that offseason. I kept my house in Houston, and I had an apartment up in Kansas City, and just poured into their offseason program and playbook, and really trying to mentally get up to speed where when the preseason games rolled around, I could compete and play well. And I did that, and ended up getting cut, last cut again. And that's when I knew in my heart that maybe it's time for me to move on and do something else. I was as prepared as I've ever been. I was in great shape. I did everything right. I played well when I got a chance to play, and it just didn't happen. And I was fixing to get married. When I came home, and I go, maybe it's time for me to move on. And my agent was like, no, let's hang in there. He was talking to the Canadian League, Montreal Alouettes. He goes, just go to Montreal with me, and let's go meet with the Alouettes and see if we can get something worked out. They really want you. And I said, it won't hurt to go visit with them and just see what it is, and go check out Montreal, where they play, where they train, all that stuff. We spent the weekend up there with the GM. And then we got into contract talks, and at the time I was already checked out.
Yeah.
Just my heart And I just told my agent at that time, I said, Frank, I'm not feeling it. Of course it's dang good money. I said, but it's in Canada, all those things. And again, I've just followed my instinct. Something was telling me it was time to move on. And I did. That's when so in 96, retired from playing.
You gave it everything you had.
Oh yeah.
In high school, in college, in the pros. Yeah. And so I would think, and tell me if I'm thinking about this, I would think that you can look back and basically have no regrets. You did just about everything you could possibly do in football. But I want to ask you one or two quick questions, because all athletes have these war stories, these funny stories about stuff that has nothing to do maybe with the actual game itself. So I'll give you an example. When I was playing at A&M, I didn't play much. And so me and my walk-on buddies, we used to scope out the stands to see which school had the best looking co-eds. So I've heard that you have a couple of those stories, one of which is you had a guy when you're in Houston who would sell you hot dogs on the stands or on the sidelines, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it was the Buffalo, my rookie year. I think, Warren Moon was our quarterback, just Hall of Famer, unbelievable passer. I mean, he could just throw the heck out of it. And I don't know how this eventually got out, but we're playing Buffalo, and we had a first-round bye. We're playing Buffalo in the playoffs, and we're winning by 35, 38 points.
Yeah.
10 minutes left in the third quarter. I'm third team going into that game at the time, Warren Moon, Cody Carlson, and me. So I'm not going to play. So me and another guy on the team saw this guy eating a hot dog, and we asked one of our trainers, I go, can y'all go get me and Gary a hot dog? And he said, sure. He went and got us a hot dog during the game. We had to hide it. We had the big parkas on.
Because it's so cold. Yeah.
It was freezing up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, somehow that ended up getting out, and we've had a lot of laughs about it ever since. But, we ate a hot dog on the sideline.
What about the story about the skydiving?
Not smart. Yeah, during the season, our off day was Tuesday. Everybody had off on Tuesday. We played Sunday, film and workout on Monday. You had off Tuesday, and then you started the work week Wednesday, getting ready for the next game. So me and I was good friends with, and still am, with Gary Wellman, who played the Oilers for 3 or 4 years as well with me.
No significant accomplishment. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And he,
hey, Gary, what's up if you're listening? Gary's a buddy of mine too.
He played receiver at USC.
Great guy.
With Marinovich and Rodney Peete.
Yeah.
So, of course, the quarterback receiver, we hit it off instantly. He's one of the first guys I met when I got to training camp there, and we've been friends ever since. And Greg Montgomery was our punter.
Sure. From
Michigan State, and he just recently passed away. I don't know if you heard that or not, but the three of us decided that we wanted to go skydiving on our off day during the season, which is not
how
smart.
You look back on that and you'd be like, man, we'd play 36 holes of golf.
So I could just tell you, I wouldn't have done well with social media either if I'm going skydiving on my day off. So we go skydiving, and of course it was scary and fun, and thank goodness nothing happened to any of us. It was successful from that regard. But we showed up Wednesday back to practice, and Coach Pardee came over to me and he goes, I understand you went skydiving yesterday. And of course I'm not gonna lie to him. I said, yeah, that's it. It was fun. We had a great time. It was day off, whatever. And he just ripped me a new one. He said, don't you ever do that again. And I didn't even it didn't even really register to us
Yeah.
that it was really dumb idea, particularly during the season. It was
Well,
just,
and it's not just that skydiving dangerous, but also you guys in the NFL and all pro sports have contracts that say there are certain things you can and cannot do during the season.
Yeah. It was just a bad decision. And we were quickly told that was stupid and don't do that again or else. So we did. But yeah, that's being 51 now, looking back on that and just remembering all that. It's pretty funny now, for sure.